currently following your advice and going big on the low intensity cardio. Good man. And agree with you that it's very unnatural and it feels like I'm doing nothing, especially since I've always tried to kill myself when I train. Do you think that including a full-blown killer anaerobic running workout once a week will supplement the aerobic work or actually take away from the benefits of the cardio due to increased stress? I'm missing the feeling of blowing out my ass, to be honest. Okay, so first and foremost, I would say that if it feels really like you're doing nothing, you can always progress. It should be between 120 to 140 of your heart rate, 6 out of 7. If you're that unsure that you're getting to, if you don't have a heart rate and you're just gauging a 6 or 7 out of 10, and you're just thinking, yeah, that's probably about 120, 140-ish. Again, 140 is really the top end. If you're thinking that you're not sure, if you're thinking that it's too easy and you're not using a heart rate monitor, I would invest and buy a Polar heart rate monitor. You can pick up one for like $20 now, or you can even use like one of the shitty fitty bitties, right? And that'll cost you like $20. They're not expensive, and that would give you a good gauge of where your heart rate is at, and make sure that you're not like sort of kidding yourself and going too easy. I definitely do think that sometimes it does feel like you're going too easy, and then you sort of extend out that time. So, 30 minutes of low intensity might be easy, but 45 minutes might be a little bit more difficult, or 40 minutes or 35 minutes, just a tiny bit extra intensity. I'm talking like you put a 0.2 extra on the treadmill if that's what you're doing, or you go just that little bit faster, and then you go for 40 minutes non-stop. That makes it a lot more difficult. I'd look at doing that. I definitely think that could be the answer, because yes, it should be easy. And maybe it is too easy if you're always used to really pushing yourself to the point where you feel like you're dying. But the fact is, if you've always pushed yourself to the point where you feel like you're dying and you haven't got as fit as you thought you were going to get on the pitch, that should tell you something. And it should tell you that that's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you haven't developed yourself in the right conditioning way to become a better rugby player. And that's what the low intensity stuff is there to do. So, yes, I don't think there is any benefit to doing the anaerobic once a week. I do think that I agree with your second part, where it definitely does take away from the benefits of the aerobic. Not that it takes away, but it just gets in the way. It's like a perfect example is, what you're doing when you're trying to do the anaerobic stuff and you're trying to go as hard as you can to push yourself. You're doing that more to test yourself. You're doing that more as like a test. And it'll be similar to like what you're doing when you're doing the low intensity stuff is you're working on yourself. You're under the engine of the race car and you're working on the do you work underneath or do you pop the hood? I don't know how cars fucking work, man. Whatever you're doing, you're working on the inner workings of that race car, and you're making it go everything go a little bit smoother. You're cleaning the pipes. You're you're cleaning the engine. I don't know what people do with engines. You're working on the engine, and slowly but surely you're getting all this work done, right? Every time you take that car out of the garage and test it, yes, you're able to get a gauge and push it hard and get an idea of how hard that car can go now and the new speed, and it feels more like an event, right? Because it feels more like the race. But then you have to wait for the car to cool. You can't just then, first off, you lose that time where that car is being tested around that track, right? You lose that time where you cannot be working. You can't be doing that low intensity work. So you've lost that session. You then go back into the garage. You can't just work straight back onto that engine straight away. You've got to let everything cool down. You've got to clean it a little bit, or you've got to do whatever. And then only after you've waited a good deal of time for that fatigue to drop, can you then get a good, effective session after that. And the more you can work on the car with the engine just being nice and cool and with everything being in order, the better. It does take a little bit of faith. So that's why I do encourage getting a heart rate monitor and making sure that you are working that 120 to 140. Then if you really want to make sure that you're pushing yourself and you feeling tired isn't the goal, but if you really want to make sure that you're pushing yourself hard, I would look at doing the high intensity stuff. So, the really high end alactic work. So I'm talking 6 to 10 seconds at most sprints or any really high intensity powerful activity. then you then rest for a minute or so, and then you go again. You try and match that. You don't try to match that intensity. You must match that intensity. The second that intensity drops off, stop the session. Or you go for that time period and you work capacity. So you take shorter, smaller intervals, but you just keep going. And you go for 2 to 3 minutes at most. You go to 5 to 6 intervals, and you could do that a few times. That's one that the guys on Team Rugby Muscle really did enjoy, and they found difficult. But it's tough, but it's not something that it really is working your lactic system, or it's kind of anaerobic, but it's not lactic in the way that you would think. And that's how you get a tough workout from that.